Okay, in this video, I'm just going to go over how to set up the mists to work with your own mist actor. So in the content folder, we have blueprints, player, mists, and this is the folder you want to be in. And you'll want to make a folder for your mist type. Like this mist type for is paper airplane, so we have paper airplane in there. And this actor that's outside the folder, this is a template for the mist actor base. And you will just want to duplicate this, and this will basically be a base to start with that has necessary functionality already added into it. A lot of the things are just things like shadows, but you can also use the custom camera in here, and it also just works with several other functionalities. So you kind of you have to duplicate it from this for everything to work the way it should. So you'd right click, duplicate that, and name your class as you need it to be. And after that point, what you'll need to do, and you'll first have to check to make sure no one else is editing the game mode at the same time. That way we don't get merge conflicts. But you will need to go into the game mode here, and I'll close out of those. And it's this mist transformation section. And you'll notice this switch here, E-mist transition type. This basically will be used later, but that basically just directs the flow between these three. And these are very, very similar, and they all have this in common, change player character. And this is where you want to go into. And this is where the second enum comes into play, mist types. And this is one that you will have to add another line in here of your mist type. So we have normal gem test airplane. Notice airplane as in, the plane that we had right here. And it's in this core folder where you can find this enum, not the transition type, mist types. You'll just click add and then add your own here. And you'll want to drag off of the new exec pin that will come up from that. And you'll just copy and paste this up here, base mist actor test. And you can paste it down here and then plug it into your duplicate of this. And then after you have that duplicated and put down here, you'll have to go inside of it. And you'll notice these yellow notes here. This is where all the things you need to change are, such as this spawn actor node. Just replace that for the class of your new mist actor that you're creating, your character. And it says pawn, but it'll be a character. There's no reason not to have that functionality in there. Then over here, this cast node, you'll want this to cast into your new class that you're creating. And then once you change this cast node, this line here, as well as these events here, and the ones right here, you will have to change, you'll basically pull out of what you have and get the exact same function, because these functions all lie in the mist actor base. So they'll all have them by default. And for the character movement and the far collider arm, once again, you just drag off and you search for those. So you basically just replace these to match the references in your new class. And that's only up to here. There's nothing past this point that you need to change. It's just these two changes that you have to make. And then with that, you are done with the game mode part of this. For the mist itself to transform, there is this BP mist here. And once you add a new transition, or mist type, oh wait, maybe you don't need to make a change here. No, that's right, you don't need to. Never mind, you don't need to change anything in the mist. That's all good. There are in here, this player controller, there are two things that will need changed in here. But I frequently touch and edit and change this player controller. So this might be the kind of thing that maybe I would go and do. Just like give me a heads up and I can add them in. But basically all I have is things like the extend arm graph. It's just minor things that aren't important for getting it to work, but are important for making it look good. Like this here, I would need to add just a cast node here with basically the same as these are doing. I would have to add that here. It was simpler in the long run to just put this here every time. And then I think there was something in smooth cam zoom, which this is stuff I'll touch and not necessary for making it work. I'm just pointing it out. Yeah, so I'd have to do extra stuff here as well. And I'd only have to do that stuff if it's using the camera system built in, which most of the Mists will, because the camera system built in is really sick. It does it automatically, so when you jump, it doesn't just follow you while you're jumping in the air, because that's really nauseating. And it has the spring arm that like zooms out when you look up instead of suddenly snapping. And it would also have the zooming in and out working as well. As well as silhouetting, so that when it hits the corner, it won't just instantly snap forward like this, right? Instead, it sort of hangs off like that, because that's a lot better. So it comes with all that in there. But if you want to use your own camera, you can. There's no reason you can't do whatever you want with these things. So I have a lot of documentation in here, just in these like little comments here. And there's this one here. By default, Mistpawn is set to use custom camera lag interpolation on the player controller. And if you want to use your own, use custom camera instead to true. So that's just in here. Right here, just set that to true, and then it will use your camera instead. Be wary that if you use your own camera, you will have to go and edit these get camera functions if you make a new camera, which you wouldn't have to. You could just use these, and then you won't have to. But if you, for some reason, like add your own spring arm and add your own camera, you just have to edit these with the reference that you actually want it to reference. And this auto pivot here, disable auto pivot, that's another bool in here. And all that does is if you don't want your character controller to have the auto pivot camera, which means, you know, I'm not touching the mouse, the camera is just pivoting itself. That is the auto pivot. If you want that turned off to behave like this instead, you can do that by changing that bool, and then it will no longer do that. You might just end up making your own attack hitbox system, but if you want to use mine, I have it in here and I've documented some stuff, and you can kind of just reverse engineer this to get it to work how you want it. You wouldn't even have to use a data table. You could edit this graph to just use like the hitboxes you want without data tables or anything. But I left that all there in case someone wanted that as a reference in the future. And I have a bunch of the inputs already here. Feel free to make your own inputs if you need. In content, I believe it's in, yeah, just inputs. Content inputs, input actions. There's no folders in here. I would ask that you please make your own folder for the stuff you add, especially if it's just like unique to your player controller. Make your own folder in here for the name it your Mist actor. And you can make as many as you want. That's fine. Just make sure that it doesn't overlap any existing mouse controls too. And I'll check in and we can communicate about all that stuff, but just make sure controls don't overlap. when they don't need to, right? And as well as just like picking the right buttons. You know, you don't want to have a button that's really far away be your primary action. Crouching is in here. You can unlink it, and it won't work if you don't want it. Or my bad. Unlink it right here. What am I thinking? I also just have walking by default. And that's just in here. This is the normal walking code that's in like the third person. And this is the auto pivot, and this is how the disable auto pivot actually turns it off. I would ask that you leave all this stuff here, because this stuff is important. This is part of the built-in stuff. Let's see, anything else worth pointing out? We probably won't need to do any saving and loading. I just left this here in case we need it in the future, but we probably will not at all. And all this far off stuff basically either doesn't work or doesn't need to be touched at all. But yeah, that's about all there is to it, really. And then the mists will work as they should. You'll be able to transform. You'll just have to, I'll do an example here. Place the mist in the level. Here, mists, core, BP mist. If you want to do it right away, you can do instant. If you want to transform into, say, test, which is just it's basically a test mist actor. That was just like getting it to work. And now you are test mist actor. And there's bound to be a couple of these that pop up. You don't have to worry about that. That's my job to fix. So don't worry about these. You'll notice most of them are on like the third person controller. Right. And a lot of the level props will not work right now because mist actors are a different class than they're used to. That's also something I will fix. Right now the focus is just to get I guess I'm recording this for the future, but the focus is basically just to get it, the character controller itself working and feeling good, being cool and fun. Right. But yeah, that's about it.